Hello everybody, welcome to the first video in this series. In this video we are going to take a look at the sketch we will be needing for our character. Now what I really want you to focus on when sketching is to keep it very loose. You should have an image in mind, perhaps you have a reference. What you should try to attempt is to just let the pencil go on the paper. Think about form, proportion, anatomy. We are drawing in a cartoony style, almost stylized. So these are the things I keep in mind when drawing my character. I follow the design principles when it comes to anatomy, making sure the legs are the same length, that there's space for shoulders and for knees. And I keep in mind that this is a cartoon character, so I don't need a lot of anatomical detail. As I'm sketching, I try to follow these ideas of how will the body move if I twist the leg. She is holding a sword, so she needs to have her feet very firmly on the ground to make sure that she has enough stability. Meaning that I can space her feet outwards, stretch outwards, in a direction that makes sure that she is standing proud, strong and stable. In this video, this girl version of Link is holding the Master Sword up, as if she is about to use it in battle, as a demonstration that she is indeed the famed knight. When drawing anatomy, make sure you keep proportions in mind. Make sure that you realize when you make a mistake, adjust it. In this phase, it's all about the technical part of art. For example, in this case, I need to make space for the chest. Where's the chest and where does the rib cage end? Where does the abdomen area begin? This is the same for the feet. What do I do with the ankle? Where does the ankle start? And how does this affect the placement and the position of the feet? As she is a girl version, I want to make her hair very, very long, very fluent, with a lot of fluidity, with a lot of motion and energy. Maybe the wind is blowing her hair up as she stands very proud and heroically in front of her enemies. At this point, I am trying to imagine how the other arm might be. I let it go for a while, but while I'm projecting the hair, I'm still considering the form of the arm. What am I going to do with the other hand? You see, we have to keep in mind that she has two arms to wield this wonderful sword if she has to. If anything, to hold her shield in her other hand. However, while I'm considering what I will do with the hand, I start detailing the rest of the body. I give her some ears. I try to imagine how the hair might flow in front of the face. I imagine how her body might be reacting to the way she's standing. Is she having a particular belt? Is she having a particular item on herself? I tried to mess with the clothing to see what type of clothes I would like her to have. And in this phase, if I see that I need to make a change, or if I think I should make a change, I make it. This is the exact moment where we can be very, very messy with our idea, because the more we think about it, the more patience we have with it, the better our design will be. The face might be something you need to work on, but keep in mind that the eyes, the nose and the mouth can be envisioned as a form of a mask that sits on the head itself. This will help us when we eventually draw the face to keep the volumes in mind. What I do here is a technique I often use. When I have my very messy sketch line ready, I softly erase it to give myself a slightly cleaner line art. Still messy, but the lines are slightly more confident. I can start thinking about maybe the hat she's wearing. I can think about how the hair might sit under that famous green head of theirs. Now, I skip a great step forward here, but this is how it's looking like now. I followed the same principles. When I was done with my cleaner sketch, I erased it slightly and I just kept erasing and adding more line work until I was happy with how my stance was. In this case, I'd say we are almost done with the sketch. I need to make some additions here and there. I need to play with the hair. I need to play with what she's wearing. For example, the arm needs to be added. But as you see here, I'm still experimenting. This is not the final artwork yet, so I can add and subtract things as much as I want without having to worry about if it's going to affect the final image. At this point, I'm starting to think about the Master Sword. How is she going to hold the Master Sword in her hand? Now, as you see me work here, I create a new layer. Why? Well, if I make a mistake, I only have to erase the mistake on the layer I'm working on. For example, I am pretty satisfied with the way my Link, the girl version of Link sketches. So if I want to make the sword, it's a better way to make a new layer and sketch your idea to add. And if you're happy with it, you could always merge the layers together. This will also give us the opportunity to sketch over our drawing without having to worry about being very picky and very complicated with our erasing. What I need to keep in mind is that the sword follows the direction of the hand. That it looks believable that she is holding the hand in one direction. As you see me do here, I am measuring. Am I thinking the correct direction? Is the entire sword heading the same way? Now, these digital tools can give us a lot of help. I always suggest use them. Use them. Especially in the sketching phase, we are just experimenting. We're trying to see what we can make happen and how best to do it. For example, the Master Sword has these wings, I would almost say, on the side of the sword handle. The sketching phase is a very, very good phase to just experiment and to test to see if things are working. If they're not, we erase them. And this is something we have to be prepared to do. We have to be prepared to erase something if it's not working. I use the same principle as with my first sketch. If I'm happy with the initial messy lines, I just erase them out a bit and then I start adding lines to them that are more confident, straighter, cleaner. This way I don't have to start all over again and I have a good idea of what I should be aiming for. And little by little I start building the image up. Right now I am just thinking about form. Thinking about how the handle would be inside her hand, how the top of the sword would fit on top of her hand. Is there an extension? Is there a jewel perhaps? On another screen I have a reference of the Master Sword, but what I want is to make sure that I use it as a reference and not copy it directly. What I want is to make a version of it. When drawing a sword, make sure you use the principles of a sword. For example, the handle connects to the midsection of the sword, which has a part that holds the blade in place. Now, this is something you have to keep in mind when drawing the sword, so that it not only looks believable and real, but that we can play with it when we stylize our art. As long as we follow the rules, we can pretty much do whatever we want. I would like to repeat, when you see that you did something wrong, or when you see that something should be better or different, don't be afraid to change it. You can always go back. Looking at the reference of my Master Sword, I can see that the blade itself sits above the handle. This means that part of the blade connects to the inside of the handle itself. Now, using the tools I have at my disposal, rotating the canvas, sketching, perhaps I could have used the shift key to draw a straight line, but again, in the sketch phase, it's just experimenting, so experiment. Don't be afraid to make changes. This does relate to the entire drawing, even though in the sketch phase, it's less of an importance if you erase or add or change. It is something you should take through the entire drawing. Whenever you see that you need to change something, change it. Because in the end, what you are trying to do is deliver a convincing product. So you should draw something that you like, of course, but you should also keep in mind, who is watching my art? Who is looking at my drawing? What would they think? How can I look at my drawing from their perspective? Does it make sense? Does my idea make sense? These are questions you should constantly ask yourself, as they can eventually help make for a much better drawing. What I hope that you take, if it's anything that you take from this video, is that it's okay to take it easy, to take it slow, to have patience. You can't rush this. You should also keep in mind that at some point you have to call it stop. You have to say, this is good enough. It looks like a sword. It looks like a sword perfect for my hero. As you see here, I've zoomed in slightly just to add some more detail. Maybe erase some few lines, maybe I can make a few helping lines here and there so that when I do the inking part, I know exactly what to focus on. Now, usually when you publish an artwork, your sketch is not that important, unless it's a really good sketch. In this case, I hope you can agree that the sketch is not good enough to be shared with the public. And that's okay, because the finished product, that's what we're going for. This is just for us artists to look at and see, okay, I see what you did there. I see how you are trying to tell me how exactly the sword sits in the hand. At this point, I am fairly happy with how the sword came out, so I'm going to add some detail. Now, normally Link, the character, has either some wristband or gloves on his arm, and I feel that this character could use with some cloth wrapped around her forearm. On a separate screen, I have examples of outfits of Link that I think will be very suited for this female version. Making the hand will take some time. As you see me do here, I am just imagining how the fist might be clenched. I'm trying to think, how does it connect to the arm? Does it make sense? Is it big enough? Is it small enough? And would it make sense to have her fist clenched? Now then, there is a very wise rule we can follow. You won't know until you did something to find it out. In this case, I realized, it might not have been the best idea to create a fist. It doesn't really help. It doesn't really portray the energy I would like this girl version of Link to have. But let's try it again. Let's see if I make the fist a bit bigger. Maybe if I turn the fist a little more outward, perhaps it'll work then. Again, the only way to find out if it works is to do it. But it also means accepting that if it doesn't work, change it. Don't force it. Because the people, the audience, your fans, they will notice, they will see if you forced it or not. And they will say, this doesn't make sense. But you kept it in there. Now, I feel that keeping it in if it doesn't work is kind of like taking the easy way out. You gave up. For example, I realized again, the fist idea is not the best idea. So I'm going to leave it for a moment. I'm going to let the message in my head create it for me. Then a wise idea came in my mind. Wait a minute, where's the shoulder? Maybe one of the problems was that the arm was way too close to the body. And this made much more sense. So, with some sketch lines, I figured out where more or less the shoulder might be, and this gave me something to think about. It gave me a good idea of what to do with the arm. For example, if the upper arm is sticking out more or less here, keeping the space for the elbow in mind, let's consider that the arm might be sticking upwards. Now, I don't want her to have a shield. I want the Master Sword and her heroic stance to be the main part of this image. So making a shield is not something I'm very interested in, to be very honest. I also think it wouldn't add. It would just distract of giving her more things to do. In this case, I feel like, okay, she just swung the Master Sword out. Maybe, what if she has her hand at the ready, in case she needs to attack with both hands? Maybe she forgot her shield and she's being ambushed, or perhaps she forgot her shield and she is rushing to the rescue and she doesn't have time to properly prepare herself. And now, again, I'm just going back to experimenting. A fist is not the answer. So what if I put her hand in, I would say, a standby mode? If her hand is standby, ready to help carry the sword or swing it, or perhaps to counterbalance the way she's holding the sword. That gave me a good idea of what to do with the hand. I start thinking about how the individual fingers might be connected to the hand, and how does it look when they are overlapping. Normally, the middle finger would be much larger than all the other fingers, but in this case, we are not only drawing in perspective, but we're drawing them bent, we are drawing them curled inward. As you will see with most professional artists, it takes some thinking. It also means sometimes step away from what you're doing, focus on something else for a moment, so that your brain can more or less reset. It can help understand what you're doing, look at it with new eyes. For in this case, I figured that maybe the fingers should be drawn slightly different. And I use the same technique. I erase it if I think that I'm more or less in the right area, and I draw over it with more confident lines, less messy, straighter. This can also instantly tell me if my ideas about the fingers were right or wrong. Was I thinking correctly about the position of the fingers, or should I change it? For example, her hand is on standby mode, but it doesn't mean that it's relaxed. It means that it is ready to be used. So I need to keep in mind that the fingers, they need to be slightly tensed, slightly bent. You need to keep in mind that even though she's not actively using the hand, she might well just about be using it. And then it all comes down to experimenting again. It's the joy of discovery. It's all about, does it make sense? You have hands, and I hope you do have hands. Perhaps you can use your own hands, put them in a position, perhaps take a photo of it, take a mirror. Put the mirror in front of you and just move your hand the way you would like to see it inside the drawing. If you've ever seen professional animators in interviews, and when you see them working, they have a mirror right next to them. And they're making all sorts of funny faces inside that mirror. They're moving it. Often they record themselves to better understand how they should help the eventual viewer of their movie, of their animation, perhaps their video game, understand that what they're seeing is very real, that is exactly how people move in real life. You can do the same for your art. Use your own body, your fingers, your hand, anything really. If you want to make expressions, it's the same principle. And don't be afraid, because all it comes down to is a little bit of acting. Now you might say to yourself, I'm not that good at acting, to be very honest. However, when you're drawing a character, are you not imagining how they're feeling? Are they looking happy or sad? You are projecting emotions that you know very well are very real onto your character. And as of now, I am pretty satisfied with that hand. Now keep in mind, I might always come back if I see or feel that something needs to be changed. I will. One of the very wise things art teachers say is, be the boss of your drawing. Don't let the drawing be the boss of you. What they really mean to say is, in my opinion, is that when you're drawing, don't be afraid to push your understanding, to push the way it's drawn, push perspectives. It's a very good way to escape those very comfortable zones. Those zones where you think everything is fine, but improvement can only be found when you do the difficult thing. I am pretty satisfied with the way the sketch came out. For now, I think I'm happy. What you see me do now is simply stepping away from my art. I am doing something completely unrelated to her outfit, to anatomy, to structure. I'm trying to imagine that this master sword is reflecting an incredible amount of light. It's really light, incredible amount of light, that is really shiny and it's reflecting, and that's what the camera picks up. I suggest do similar things. You often see me jump around in my image from here to there, but this has a reason. The reason is I need to prepare, need to invent myself, and give myself the freedom to walk away for a moment. It is often advised by many artists, by professional artists as well, art teachers, creative people, that they say, you know what, make a drawing and then walk away. Tomorrow is the day we decide if it was worth having drawn. And it's an incredibly well thought out advice, because sometimes if you stare too much at your drawing, you stop looking at your drawing. Your brain has seen the same line so many times that it's similar to when you smell a smell for the first time in a room. Maybe somebody's wearing a very delicious perfume. At some point, you stop actively smelling it, because your brain is getting used to the smell. It realizes that the smell is good, it's not a bad smell, and you forget about it. A similar thing might happen to your line. Yes, you are focused, but your brain has seen the line over and over again, so it might not see what other people can see. It might not see what you could be seeing. So it's always good to have a moment to step away from your art. Of course, asking for somebody's opinion is also a very important thing. For example, I paused a video and I asked somebody, what's missing? And somebody suggested, well, Link is wearing those white tights. However, I don't want it to be Link. I want it to be the girl version. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to give her some type of stockings instead. Or perhaps it is shorts under her dress. Who knows? And this is something we can figure out at the coloring stage. For now, I want an idea in place, keeping in mind that I need to give myself the freedom and the opportunity to walk away, to change whatever I want, because I am the master of my drawing. And I know it's sometimes very difficult to walk away, but it shouldn't be. You should keep in mind that your drawing cannot exist without your incredible talent. I had an idea while I was drawing my character. My favorite Zelda game is The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. In The Wind Waker, the character, the player, has the opportunity to bring post around, post games, and then they get a post bag. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? This will be a fantastic thing for our girl character to have. Perhaps she's on a very important quest to bring a special map or a special paper to a destination. The same what I did with the sword. I make a new line. I make a new layer. And on this new layer, I simply start sketching out my idea. This way, if I need to make any adjustment, if I need to erase it entirely, if it's good but it should be different, I can simply erase this one layer without having to fear that I need to change my entire drawing. especially not if you are and when you are very happy with how your drawing came out. And again, the same technique, I erase it gently. Now what you see me do here as well is that I lower the opacity of the layer underneath it. This way, my brain is not being confused or distracted by any other layer that might have the same opacity. And I'm just going to continue exploring. I'm imagining how this post bag might close. Does it have a lock? Does it have a small belt? Is it maybe a little more advanced or technologically advanced? Maybe it has a click system? I don't know yet. I do know that I want this flap to fall over the rest of the bag. Then I need to make sure that it's actually curled. To help me do that, I focus on the strap that goes around the shoulder. What I often see people mistake is that they don't give a proper reason or proper explanation how the strap is actually connected to the book bag, the handbag, in this case, a post bag. If you've watched it on this point, I hope you have realized the importance of patience. This recording is real time. I did not speed it up, I did not slow it down. What I did is show you exactly my thought process. For example, as I mentioned earlier, perhaps there is a very important piece of paper or map that this link version needs to deliver somewhere. So I'm thinking, you know what? To show this to the player, I'm going to have it stick out of the bag. Now, it is a very medieval art style, so having a piece of paper like this should suffice. However, now I'm coming to a problem. If the paper is so important, why is it sticking out of the bag? That wouldn't make sense. Not only that, but how would the bag close? The paper is hardly strong enough to keep a much heavier flap open. So I erased the paper and I put the paper idea somewhere in the back of my mind. Perhaps I can use it later, but for now I just focus again on the bag, realizing that the idea I had, it's not gonna work. So instead of pushing it, I let it go. I give myself the freedom to just let go. As I changed my idea of the bag, I started thinking about that flap again. Thinking about how it might interact with the lower part of the bag. Now, I don't want the bag to be super straight. I want to show that it's been used, that it has been moved around, so it's not completely straight. It has some edge wear, some dents, some type of bump here and there. And as I'm making the bag, I realized that a clip of sorts or a belt system, it's not gonna work. It won't work because the belt is not only much different from the rest. For example, the belt on her body is circular. A circular belt wouldn't be useful. So then I do the smart thing. I looked up an image of the post bag of The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, and I realized that the post bag has a much nicer design. It has this curly type of symbol on top of the bag and a little tiny diamond-shaped symbol in the middle. And this looks nice. I think this really helps put the bag in place. And as it is Zelda, it makes a lot of sense that it might look the same. And little by little, I start feeling more confident and more sure about the design of the bag. I also think it's a nice little detail to show that this fantastically heroic warrior is also a kind hearted person. I mean, a hero that walks around the world defeating evil, but at the same time delivering a loving message from you to your grandmother. I think that is a very kind soul. As I mentioned earlier, the bag has some wear and tear, so perhaps she had to manually fix it up. So I add little stitches on the edges to make it seem like, when I eventually ink it, to show that she is a hero, she's kind, and she's also self-sufficient. To make sure I don't erase everything in case my idea doesn't work, I give my original sketch layer a layer mask. This way I can simply draw away the lines that I don't want to see in my image without having to erase it or without erasing it by accident. This way, if I decide that the bag is not a good idea, I can always go back. There. With that in place, I really like it. I think it has a very nice touch. You might ask, why am I erasing this line and not just masking it away? Well, there is a thing in art called tangents. A tangent is where two lines meet at an intersection or at a point. This makes it look very messy and very ugly. So a better idea is simply put it right above that little edge or that little corner, so that the lines that are connecting in the same point are not connecting to anything else. As you see here, the point of the flap is underneath the line of the part where the sword goes into. And there we go. I really like this one. At this moment, I am really fond of this very character. I realize that I haven't added the head yet, but this is all things that I can always add later. The first part for me is my character working? And for me, personally, that answer is yes. It is working fantastically. One of the things that can really help push a design is to think about little tiny details. For example, Link has one of the most famous fairies in the world, Navi. Now, I don't want to add Navi to the scene herself because this might try to, fight for the attention. What I want is a reference. And what you see me do here is I'm going to create a little tiny reference for Navi. And I'm going to make her into a little tiny badge or a spelt hooked onto the strap of her mailbag. It's a very tiny reference, but I want it to be tiny because I want it to be something the viewer can discover. I don't want it to be super obvious because I don't want it to fight with the main idea. The main idea being a very imposing, cool girl Link character. Remember that piece of paper? Well, I found a new use for it. Instead of putting it in the post bag, I was thinking to myself, well, in all Zelda games, Link characters have a map. Well, where do you put this map? And in my head, I think this girl character is also a very pragmatic person. So what she did is she put this particular map and she stuck it inside her belt. So let's make a map. You will see me erased and changed simply because I am searching. I am searching for how this piece of paper, rolled up as it is, how this piece of paper might be stuck inside her belt. How is it moving? How is it getting crumbled? Where are the edges? How is it rolled up? And this is a visualization exercise because in your mind you have to see the forms. And you can only see the forms if you combine it by drawing them out. Because then what you have in your brain, what you know to be true, and what you have on paper, what you try to make real, they have to coincide. So you give a little, and you take a little, and little by little you build your image up. Keeping in mind, give yourself the freedom to change what needs to be changed. For me, I drew a map. Perhaps you want something entirely different. Perhaps your character has something else that still gives that extra little detail for the viewer to explore, to understand that, I see, she has a map. Maybe this is not a map. Maybe this is a paper with the information about her quest. Maybe it has an address on it, or maybe it is proof of delivery or something that the person who receives the package, the letter, has to sign. It could be anything really. Perhaps she found a page of her favorite poem and she decided to take it so that she could read it wherever she went. All we want now is for it to make sense. If you make a mistake, simply change it. It's perfectly fine. It must be repeated that sketching, drawing, and art in itself is a patience game. Don't be afraid to step away for a moment, to zoom out, to look at the entire thing. For example, now I'm deliberately taking it some time to remove this reflection. I was never going to use the reflection. It was just for me to give my brain the opportunity to focus on something completely different, even if it's for a very short moment in time. This will give you time to think. This will give you time to realize if you made some mistakes somewhere. This will give you a better idea of what you should change. For example, I'm not really happy with the hair. Not at all. I love the hair, how full and how long it is, but the way I made it move, it doesn't make sense to me anymore. So let's change it. You might say, yeah, but I put so much work in the sketch. But it's the sketch. It is not the final artwork. Meaning that now is the best time to change things, because when you finally get to that final artwork, it's gonna take that much more work to get the desired effect. And right now, well, I only have to delete some lines. And the beautiful part is, if I change my mind, I can just go back by adding some more very simple lines without having to spend hours and hours of doing the lines and the line art and the coloring. And this is why patience is a very important thing in this step. Allow yourself to make mistakes. It is always a good idea to use reference. Think about what type of hair I have and simply do a search on the internet. Find some of the hair you are trying to make. That way, it will make much more sense because you have the flow of the hair as it's bouncing in the wind, and this will definitely help if you simply follow. Don't go into too much detail. Make the outline. Here, another reason to step away. I intentionally didn't color the eyebrows or the eyelashes black simply because I can use those things as a detail later on. Similarly, I was aware, and I am aware, that the sword is not in perfect perspective. Good. And this will be some experience, but you'll come to realize, good. These things we can use later to put our mind on something else, to give ourselves an intentional distraction. And this might take you some time to figure out what exactly you can use for you as a distraction. And for me, it's things that need an edge or a bevel, things that I can color black, local shadow that I can give with the pencil. These are all things I can use to simply give my mind a new task to focus on and forget this very complex idea. Because in my ability to draw what I know, I might come to the realization that I know the solution. I know what to do. I am very happy with my sketch. This is the reason why I merged all the layers together, because I don't want to change anything at this point in time. So let's give our brain something new to do. To make sure I am satisfied, let's give our brain a completely new task. Let's think of some pupils, some eyes, some eyeballs, the way we can make different eyes. Now, experimentation. To give myself a helping hand, I'm going to do something very, very simple. I'm going to give myself copies of these eyes, meaning that I can draw however many eyes I want and simply pick one that I really like. Of course, find some reference that you can use to make your drawing, to make your sketch, to make your idea happen. So I'm going to do just that. I'm going to make a selection of the face, of the eyes like this, and I am going to make some copies of it. There we go. And I'm just gonna make a few, just to give myself enough opportunity to explore. And when I'm happy with the amount, there, we can all put them in a new layer. Now, of course, don't forget to layer your names. It doesn't take that much extra time, and it will help you so much more if you ever need to find a layer that you need. I'm going to go with my first idea. I'm going to make the shadow of the eye and the pupil one giant color. It's very common for most animes, for most mangas, to have something like this. I'm going to give it some highlights, because of course there are highlights in your drawing. Here you see I realized that I forgot to put it on a new layer. There we go. Now if I erase it, I can just erase everything. Now remember that the reflection in the eye are on the curvature of the eyeball. So the reflections tell us where exactly this curvature is. And I think that's good for our first eye. There we go. Now let's move on to our next eye. For this eye, I have a completely different idea in mind. I start by simply adding an eyeball and pupil to each of the eyes. And I'm gonna darken the edges and simply cross shade parts of the eye. And each part is going to get a slightly different layer of shadow. The upper part, which is covered by the eyelids and by the eyebrows, is going to have a much darker color than the lower part, for example. I have an idea that I can darken the edges of my pupil to make sure the reader knows where the pupils are, and simply make the rest a little lighter. And I invite you to experiment with your eyes. See what works. Sometimes you need 20 ideas to realize that the 21st is the best one. And when you're satisfied with your eye, go to the next one. Now keep in mind, don't spend too much time on it. This will eat all your creativity away. When you are drawing the eye, always remember to give it some reflections, some highlights, some white light spots here and there. This will make it much more realistic, no matter how cartoony your drawing might be. Now, to make sure that you follow my exact train of thought, I'm not going to fast forward my ideas. I simply want you to, with me, find that joy of discovery. Find that enjoyable moment of, wow, I think I drew exactly what I needed. So far, for example, I really like the eyes, but they're not yet what I really have in mind for my character. It's almost there, but it's not there yet. So I make sure I give myself the opportunity to simply explore. This one, for example, I used the blend brush simply to brush it out, to see what happens. If I don't like it, it doesn't matter. I don't need to use it. Remember that you are in charge of your artwork. And again, never forget those reflections. as they will make it much more believable that your eye has some form, some volume to it. Then you see how in such a short time we still have already a few nice eyes. I still don't think they are good enough for our hero. The eyes are good, they're intense, they're fearless, but they're not having that spark that I think the eye should have. So let's try another one. With this one, I decide, you know what? Let's start with the reflections. Maybe starting with the pupil, or maybe starting with the shadow. Maybe that was the problem. So what I'm going to do now is simply start with the reflections. And after that, I'm going to think about how the shadows, the dark areas, might be hiding behind these very sharp reflections. Now, in this way, we can always think about how can we switch around what we're doing. Is it better to work only from one direction? What if we work in reverse? For example, with the highlights. Another thing we might do is, instead of starting with the pupil, is just make the entire thing darker. And from there on, decide the highlights. And we're just reordering the steps we've been taking. Maybe change the shape of the highlights, in this case, more circular. And perhaps we don't want the pupil to be super visible. Maybe something like this, only a small edge of the pupil is visible. I like the eyes, but still, so far, I feel I'm super close. I feel I'm super close to what I actually want for my character. I gave myself a limit. These are the only eyes I'm going to make. Whatever eyes I make now, I am going to choose one. So either this last one is going to be the final one I actually want, or I'm going to compare all of them and choose one. As one of the most important things of an artist is choose a limit. So I'm going to think to myself, how am I going to make this eye? Having drawn all the eyes so far, what is a good approach for this eye? For example, let's start with some shadow, some very light shadow to show that the eyebrow is covering the eyeball. Now what I did before, that I made the edges darker, let's try it with the entire thing. And I'm just searching. I feel I'm finding it, but I'm just searching. Experimenting is always the best way to find out if it's working or not. Have patience with yourself. If there's a mistake, change it. And I feel I'm really close. I can feel it in the tip of my pen. And you know what? Yeah, I think these are the eyes that I'm looking for. They're not too evil, they're not too strict. For me, let's try them out. Maybe we should try them out first. Let's try this one. No. No, if I'm looking at it, I don't like this. What about the next one? Let's give it a shot. Another good way of finding out, and it's good that we have it on a separate layer, we could just move it around. How does this look? Let's give it a quick look. Yeah, no. No, I don't think the eyes with the weird pupil, I don't think they match the entire character. What about this one with more serious, very pronounced pupils in their eyes? No. For me, I don't like it. Maybe you have a different opinion, but I think that it doesn't match. What about these ones? In my mind, I'm still thinking about the last one, but let's try them. Let's try them. Let's try them out, including the last one, of course, because even though my mind wants it to be the last one, I might be completely wrong. These, if I look at the eyes, it makes me think of a chessboard from a distance. And it makes it feel a little awkward to look at the eyes. So, no. What about these one with the very, very faintly visible pupil? No, for me it looks like she's looking in an entirely different direction. So, also no. Now the one that I'm preferring at the moment. How does it look like? That's very dark, isn't it? No, I don't like it. I don't like these eyes. Now that I'm looking at it at the person, no. Maybe they're too dark. Maybe that's the problem. You see, now that I've lightened them up a little bit. Yeah, I think my brain was right in choosing these ones. I think they are the perfect blend of being not too deep and too dark, now that they're a little lighter. Yeah. Now, with that settled, let's go back and change the last few things. Some things I've been postponing in case I need it. In this case, the beveling of the bottom of the sword. Now, I intentionally leave something for the last minute. Not to leave it for the last minute, but in case I need a distraction, in case I need my brain to focus on something else. For example, what if I couldn't figure my eyes out? Then I would have something to distract myself with and go back to what I consider to be a very important topic to think about. There. I think I liked it. It's not perfect. It's exactly how I think this looks nice for a sketch. There. A little bit here. And I'm just going around my artwork to see what can I still change. What was I postponing that I should change in the sketch phase now? And after you watch this video and you embark on making your drawing, your sketch, I would like you to follow a similar idea. Because it's very simple in a sense. Sketch and erase. Give yourself patience, give yourself time to actually focus on making the drawing. Look at your references and don't copy your references, use them as a guide. It's a little different. And I think we are done. Follow me into the next video where we are going to look at how we can ink our character with confidence and with good line work. I'll see you in the next video.